All right, ladies and gents, here we are on the 3rd of August. It is Tuesday, 2021. SPY, pretty big update today. I was kind of leaning toward, of course, I can look in hindsight now and say, man, I was so ready to buy the dip, but I was kind of ready to buy the dip today. Today reminded me a little bit of last week, Wednesday. I think last week, Wednesday, I also got short because I just felt like, man, we were kind of tanking pretty hard out of the open. And that's what we had today too. Same kind of dumping straight away from the bell. But learning from that recent trading day, I kind of thought, man, I should kind of potentially maybe go alongside with the Fed here and buy some calls. And that would have been kind of profitable today. But win some, you lose some, you miss some. It's whatever. Market terms for the day, NASDAQ, 215 total dollar. Yeah, 215 billion total dollar volume today on the NASDAQ. The NYSE, 265 billion total dollar volume. The OTC markets, 2.75 billion total dollar volume. Pretty nice. Other than SPY, pretty boring day around the listed markets. Some action in the OTC markets, but geez, if boring had an Olympic competition, today probably would have taken at least bronze, in my opinion, I think. So just starting off, really the only interesting one, HJLI. Internals or fundamentals on this one. American Healthcare Medical Device Company, float of 6 million, reported short interest of 2%. News catalyst today, FDA grants breakthrough device designation status for blah, 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 Veno valve, whatever. Had this one keyed in for that morning dump, gap and crap, short the downside. Was totally present on this one and telling myself, man, this $9 level, this could be it. You know, I could totally have pulled the trigger at this point, but I held off and refrained, mainly because of the low float, because of the daily was a bit of an up. No, that was a different one. Great standalone volume candle today, though, compared to the daily. It was just a little bit too spread out. This was a little bit too clean, too strung out for me to believe of how low of a float this was, that it was just going to dump hard, or at least dump the rest of the day from doing this move in the pre-market. So that's why I was coming to this and willing to not get short here, but also ready and willing to get short if it wanted to retest or reclaim back above VWAP at any point. If it did or did not break that previous high of day, if it broke that high of day, then I definitely would have been looking at this hard, trying to play maybe especially market hours of looking to get short somewhere, any exhaustion highs or any points at that time frame. But golly, we never touched anywhere near that VWAP crack throughout the rest of the day ever. I actually tried to play this one to the long side as a dip and rip type of setup. We're looking at those are not correct. Those are way off. That's funny. But so looking at this one, yeah, okay, here we go. As trying to play this one, seeing if it's gonna base anywhere. It was holding decently well, okay, in this pre-market, still pretty far under VWAP. The total dollar volume on this one today as well, 281 million. Not the greatest, and we're just not getting a huge amount, and especially because they're just fading the rest of the day, we're not getting that huge amount of volume, or at least dollar volume as well, to try and push these things insanely high. So VWAP especially became a huge inflection point on this one. I'll take away these trades quick. I traded this one especially on the tick chart, looking for key ranges. So you can see just right around here, the 8 to 820 became a range. Broke that. I was totally patient on this one, didn't want to try to get into early, and I think you could see there were some algorithms or other stops that were being hit here at these specific points, whether it varied from people right away in the morning looking to trade the break above VWAP, they got stopped out, trying to play this range here, got stopped out. Price reclaimed again back into that range as we're hovering closer to VWAP, but VWAP is declining at this point, so not really a huge boost to the trading factor at that point, but I'm still willing to get in this one. It was one of the top percent movers on the scanner today. Getting around this point, and then it just becomes, a VWAP test. So, could it break out here? No, it's pulling back a little bit more. Maybe try and find an entry here. Oh, missed it. It's going back up at this point. No, it's pulling back a little bit more. Is this looking weak? Is it looking strong? Just going through all these, I was refraining myself from getting an entry so many times on this one, and I'm kind of glad I only had one opportunity, I think. Or did I take it twice? This is wrong as well. Why does it show it wrong? That's so funny how you had to refresh it. Okay, so I did take it twice. Coming into this point here, okay, we're reclaiming off of this low, back into this range. Okay, we're holding okay decently. Looking for a good push back above VWAP, as it obviously has become a point of inflection coming from the morning. And obviously that wasn't even tested once again in the pre-market. And then that was shown once again, obviously had to be stopped out here as it decided to blip, but then came back super quick and said, oh, this time must be different. And so we actually did perk back above VWAP, hovered around here for a little bit, even though this looks pretty fast on the tick chart. It did kind of like, bouncy ball a little bit slower at this high here, start to print off. So I'm like, okay, this might actually bring in some more longs like me and shoot out some more shorts, trying to cover this thing with VWAP as their technical escape level. So then, of course, obviously huge downside on this one. I was lucky. I was able to just kind of barely get out in this little stutter step here to the downside, and that was pretty much it for the rest of the day. Did try again. It reclaimed, kind of hovered back once again at this VWAP point and said, oh, this time's gonna be different, I swear, just like that old ex-girlfriend, right? And then again, just complete fail and dumping the rest of the day. So not too fun on the long slide, but I feel this chart especially too, the fact that I was in it, watching it as a short, but then just told myself no, I feel like it's just going to be an easy transition for me too now to release those chains and say, okay, yes, this is the inflection point. What we're seeing, especially today, if it's August continues to decide to be so slow, go ahead and get short in the pre-market and just ride these things for the fade the whole day. Using a percentage well beyond VWAP as a risk level if we can see more ones like this one, and then OTLK as well. I also use VWAP as kind of an intermediary point or determining factor in price action for the day too. So short side is still in play on these ones, I feel, in my opinion, of not getting screwed out, as this one was really the only one that hit my scanner today too, which was surprising to me on a Tuesday, which has been my most opportune time for these kind of gap and crap pump and dumps. I feel interesting. But OTLK I mentioned, same thing. This was another high percentage mover. Initially spiked around this 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time and then dunked here. This would have been your gap and crap entry point of the VWAP crack after that big spike. You would have had to ride through this the whole way, but if you kept that pre-market high a day risk level, you still wouldn't have been stopped out, and it would have been a little bit emotional. This was a pretty decent dip and rip opportunity. I mean, it didn't really dip that hard. It had a little bit of a sell-off, decent amount of volume in that first minute candle, but just still kind of chopping, not like the biggest sell-off or biggest technical level find, but then did break hard back above VWAP, and then ultimately dumped back under. And then once again, similar to HJLI, VWAP becomes the inflection point, just tries to retest, tries to, please let me back up, I can't breathe, and then it just dies back under the rest of the day. So for me, looking at this kind of reminds me of, back in late March when I felt like I was identifying these patterns or just seeing all the big percentage movers on the day ending up fading and dying, to where I really started to develop and track the data on these ones, which looks totally different than what I consider my morning dump strategy now. But I feel like these today especially was kind of what reminded me, or what got me into tracking that, shorting the big percentage movers on the day initially. So kind of, playing with that. I'm not going to call anything definitive at this point, but I think this is a little bit of kind of mix up today. And again, not going to assume anything hard on that because of one day, but certainly going to keep that in the back of my mind and play off of that with my short setups in tomorrow, in the next few days, in the next few weeks especially. OTLK was the next one. AHPI was a recent runner. I know Breast 2 has been making a killing on this one. Had a decent little spike in the morning. Choppy. I can only imagine the headache and head slapping on the desk that you would have to endure in order to try to watch this price action all day, but the percentage moves were there. Ended up kind of dumping, fading, falling off once again for the afternoon trading session. This one's just kind of crazy, and even the daily too, just, oh my gosh, head numbing. WHLM, 100% mover during market hours. I think this was 50% at least still during market hours, from 6 to 9. Fundamentals on this one, this was a micro float, 1.5 mil float, 0.23 reported short interest. I don't see a news catalyst. I see a Form SC 13DA at 6:14 Eastern Standard Time. But nothing other than that. Again, this one is, I remember this one from a long time ago. Was it that long ago during this spike, or 2020? Yeah, must have been at that during time. So this is an American fashion model design management business company. I remember Bowen pulling up their website, just how stupid it looks, but great opportunity on the upside in the morning session today, and afternoon fades, baby. That seemed to be the trend today, at least. Oh, it's XELA. XELA still holding around. The daily keeps on chugging for what we're doing on this kind of curl after the downside on this recent move, but just still so choppy as usual and continues to fail to break out during market hours. Of course, as I pull it up now, it's breaking to the upside in after hours. But even with trying to watch it around this point, you're like, oh, here it is. Here's the point. And you can see volume coming in around here at this time frame. And then this is like the widest move of the day compared to like the first 3-minute candles in the morning. But the range of this is like 3 cents from 325, 329, 4 cents. Just boring and no fun whatsoever. No acceleration, no running away from price quickly. I mean, if you're playing this as a swing, props to you. That's a great trade. And you kind of have to at this point with how choppy, just ludicrous the price action. Yeah, it'll still be on watch. It could probably be testing 4 tomorrow if it wants to keep ramping, or maybe just has a little consolidation rest day and then does something later in the week. I could potentially see that, but choppy as broccoli. OTC market, NSAV was the prodigal dip buy yesterday, as I mentioned. Still didn't go red, but the dip buy was there. And of course, it didn't like panic extremely hard as a total percentage move, and the dip buy reflected that. But today was setting up pretty nicely too for what it could have done. It looks like on the daily that this was just such an awesome opportunity, but then the intraday is just like, no. And so supposedly a lot of people in the millionaire chat were trying for this around the 10 level that they were buying during this time frame, when it was still green, when it still had not even cracked, was still not cracked 10 and was still green above this point here from that day. And so I was not touching. I was watching this thing from market open, looking for a panic, for a hard panic. I mean, at least 8 or 7, something huge enough to get a giganto bounce from. But supposedly a lot of people were getting in at this point. You can see that from the volume candles. It broke a little bit here and then kind of like fake out bounce, but then continued to stuff more and just really did not bounce the whole rest of the day. I tried to get an order in actually at 9 So I think it was this point here that it was getting sold off. I think it didn't trade that hard all the way down to 8.5. But then quickly was kind of putting in green prints on the time and sales. Bid was stacking up. So I tried to put into ordering at 9, and TD Ameritrade had restricted it from trading for my safety because this is a sketchy company. Thank you, TD Ameritrade. You saved me once again. So I wouldn't have I would have ridden it to max of 9.5 barely. I doubt I would have even have sold if I gotten filled. But then it dumped lower than that low. Put in a decent little bottom here for a dip buy, but at this point, like, how do you even predict or tell what the actual bottom is for what this move is? So this move entirely was perfect move, was 30%. Whoopee. Just not like beautiful, not pristine, not that we want to see out of these dip buys. Unfortunate. And then I totally forgot and kind of missed the Robinhood IPO. Huge day today, 24%. Go Apes, go. So that's all I had today. $25 down day. Probably should have took a little bit of a bigger size on HJLI just because I told myself, or after seeing myself trade the dip and rips kind of well, it's like, hey, we got to step up the position size just a little bit. So, and then while I was in the trade, I was thinking, maybe I shouldn't have taken that big of a size. I mean, position size I'm talking about is, what, $800. So at most, risking nothing. It's whatever. So still got saving more day trades up for the rest of the week in order to get shorts. Still saving lots of capital to try and play for these longs if they do decide they want to get crazy or go to the upside. But just another one of those days, if you know what I mean. That's trading. More time to study, more time to get prepared for when it gets super crazy and super busy. That's just what I have to keep reminding myself and focusing on. Just like, hey, I should be thankful for these days because they are preparation for the next days to come when it gets so super crazy and when money's just flowing out of your butt, right? That's what we're praying for, and that's what the sniper mentality is patiently waiting for as well too. So thank you guys for watching. We will catch you guys tomorrow.